Welcome to today's World News Update for May 1, 2023. Here are the most important stories from around the globe. Hyundai to stop selling machinery used for illegal Amazon mining. 1 in 5 young people in Chinese cities are out of work. Ethiopia used chemicals to kill locusts. Billions of honeybees disappeared. Biden hails deep friendship with Philippines and boosts military ties amid China tensions. Canadian government proposes ban on assault-style firearms. Australia to ban non-prescription vapes in biggest smoking reforms in a decade. Never-before-seen Chinese military blimp caught on satellite images of remote desert base. Over 100 dolphins die in Black Sea in April because of Russian actions. Stay informed and stay safe, and join us tomorrow for more world news updates. Hyundai to stop selling machinery used for illegal Amazon mining. Hyundai has announced that it will take steps to prevent its heavy machinery from being used for illegal mining in the Amazon, following a report by environmental group Greenpeace that exposed the widespread utilization of its excavators for gold mining in indigenous territories. In response, HD Hyundai Construction Equipment has said that it will stop selling heavy machinery in the Brazilian states of Amazonas, Roraima, and Pará until it can strengthen its sales process and compliance system. The company has also terminated its contract with a local dealership, BMG, which facilitated sales to illegal miners. At least 75 excavators made by Hyundai were being used for illegal gold mining in the Yanomami, Munduraku, and Kayapo protected indigenous territories between 2021 and March 2023, according to Greenpeace. Heavy equipment has helped gold mining on indigenous lands grow by almost 500% over the past 12 years, accelerating deforestation and causing severe damage to the environment and livelihoods of local residents. 1 in 5 young people in Chinese cities are out of work. China's richest province, Guangdong, has suggested that 300,000 unemployed young people should go to the countryside to find work in order to help revitalize the rural economy. This plan has been met with widespread criticism on social media. Urban unemployment among 16 to 24-year-olds in China is at 19.6%, the second highest level on record. There are around 11 million jobless youth in China's cities and towns, according to the most recent data from the National Bureau of Statistics. As a record number of 11.6 million college students are set to graduate this year, the youth unemployment rate could increase further. Ethiopia used chemicals to kill locusts. Billions of honeybees disappeared. Between 2019 and 2021, massive swarms of desert locusts caused significant damage to crops and pastures across East and Horn of Africa. Kenya and Ethiopia responded by spraying millions of hectares of land with chemical pesticides, leading to a decline in honey production in Ethiopia. According to a new study by the Berlin think tank TMG, synthetic pesticides were most likely to blame for the estimated death of 76 billion honeybees or their abandonment of hives. Somalia, on the other hand, used a biopesticide called Metarhizium acridum and the insect growth regulator, IGR, teflubenzuron, which was deemed more environmentally friendly. The FAO shipped over 1 million liters of conventional insecticides to the region, with Ethiopia using malathion and chlorpyrifos, and Kenya deploying deltamethrin and phenitrathion. Experts have urged for integrated pest management that tracks and manages locust upsurges before they reach threatening proportions, to avoid resorting to chemical pesticides. Biden hails deep friendship with Philippines and boosts military ties amid China tensions. U.S. President Joe Biden has reaffirmed the U.S. commitment to the security of the Philippines and emphasized the deep friendship between the two countries during talks with Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. at the White House. The two leaders discussed the growing concerns over Chinese naval harassment of Philippine vessels in the South China Sea. After the meeting, the U.S. announced the transfer of 3 C-130 aircraft and 2 coastal patrol vessels to the Philippines, and both countries adopted defense guidelines to deepen military cooperation and interoperability across different domains. Marcos's visit to Washington is the first by a Philippine president in more than 10 years and comes as the US and the Philippines completed their largest war drills and as their air forces held their first joint fighter jet training since 1990. Canadian government proposes ban on assault-style firearms. The Canadian government has proposed a ban on assault-style firearms that would apply once legislation before Parliament comes into force. Under the scheme, the government would regulate guns to ensure they are classified correctly before entering the Canadian market. The government also plans to recreate a firearms advisory committee that will make recommendations on the classification of guns currently on the market, and the committee will include rural and northern residents, indigenous people, industry leaders, law enforcement, and gun control advocates. Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino said the measures are aimed at protecting families, children, and communities, and future governments will have a tough time making assault-style firearms legal again. Australia to ban non-prescription vapes in biggest smoking reforms in a decade. The Australian government has announced the most significant tobacco and vaping control measures in the country in a decade. The government will ban the importation of non-prescription vaping products, including those that do not contain nicotine, to tackle youth vaping. Minimum quality standards for vapes will be introduced, including restricting flavors, colors, and other ingredients. Vape products will require pharmaceutical-like packaging, and the allowed nicotine concentrations and volumes will be reduced. All single-use, disposable vapes will be banned. The government will work with states and territories to end vape sales in convenience stores and other retailers. Prescriptions for nicotine vaping products for smokers trying to quit tobacco will be made easier to obtain, with stronger standards around the vaping products that can be bought in pharmacies so people can be assured of the content of the products. The federal budget will include $234 million in funding for tobacco and vaping reforms, the biggest since plain packaging of tobacco products was introduced. Never before seen Chinese military blimp caught on satellite images of remote desert base. CNN has obtained exclusive satellite imagery showing a large blimp in a remote base in northwestern China, which experts say could be a significant advancement in China's airship program. The images, taken 3 months prior to a Chinese spy balloon being shot down off the coast of South Carolina, depict a 100-foot blimp, which aerospace experts believe could signal a more versatile and maneuverable craft than previously known. The Oklahoma Aerospace Institute's executive director, Jamie Jacobs, called it a submarine of the skies, and added that it appears to have dedicated propulsion and navigation capabilities that allow it to loiter over an area for an extended period. The blimp was spotted in a nearly kilometer-long runway, bookended by a pivot point used to launch airships, as well as a massive, nearly 900-foot airship hangar. The discovery confirms that China's People's Liberation Army program uses all 3 types of airships, blimps, aerostats, and free-floating balloons. Over 100 dolphins die in Black Sea in April because of Russian actions. Scientists have reported that the deaths of more than 100 dolphins on the coast of occupied Crimea since January are likely due to military sonars. Bottlenose dolphins have been affected the most. Although 77 cetaceans have already been counted, scientists believe that the actual death toll is much higher and exceeds 1,000. The head of the research department of the Tuzla Estuaries National Park, Ivan Rusev, blames the Russian occupation for the environmental disaster.